Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Fit here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. Beautiful day in January. And the title of this, I don't know why. First time I've looked in the mirror. I don't know why I get so pumped up in the morning. I really don't. I mean, I get up and a little groggy and I stumble around and get my coffee and I sit down. The next thing I know, I've got an idea and I'm pumped up and ready to go. And I'm so excited and I don't know why. Anyway, the title of this talk is The Pirate's Plank of Zen. I've been writing about the Hurt Locker my last couple of days, an avatar, and these two are juxtaposed to each other in my mind because back when Avatar came out, I knew it was going to be Best Picture, and what? Hurt Locker got it? What the fuck? What's Hurt Locker? And so, and then after watching Hurt Locker twice, it's kind of like Pandora's box. Pandora's box. Remember Pandora, the Greek goddess who opened up the box of evils in the world, and they all flooded out like kind of like a recreation of Eve, who ate the apple and brought sin and exile to man, and so Pandora brought upset to man, all the upsets. Just the bottom of the box, there was hope. Well, I don't like that. I think it was faith. I think it was faith that was the bottom of the box. Hope and faith, can get them to go together a little bit, But faith is in Zen. Zen is arousing the faith mind, but not a faith that is belief. That's the problem, you see. Christianity and the modern world has mixed them all up. So it's hope and faith and hope are the same thing. Belief, it's got to believe in something. But faith is believing in nothing, because whatever you believe in is past, is known, is already tried, you see. So let's talk about Hurt Locker. No, let's talk about the pirate plank of Zen. Now, the pirate's plank is a great metaphor. I don't know if the pirates actually did that. Who cares? It doesn't make any difference. The is the meaning. The meaning is in the metaphor, not in the historical fact where the pirates actually did make people walk the plank. It's a metaphor. It's a contradiction that's locked in a situation. How do you get out of it, you see? Pirate's plank means you can't go back because there's a guy with a sword. You can't go forward because there's a shark. And you can't stay where you are because they're going to march you forward. You can't stay there. So you can't so that's a double bind. That's a classic double bind where nothing you do is any good. That's Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day was about this guy, no matter what he did, what he learned, it was no good. He was still stuck. So Groundhog Day, pirates, plank, and Zen. But if you think I'm talking about Zen as a religion or as a Japanese cult or as a tradition or as a practice or as a philosophy or as religion or as Buddhism or whatever, you're wrong. I'm talking about creativity. How do you awaken creativity? How do you awaken being pumped up and ready to go? How do you awaken getting up in the morning? The pirate's plank of Zen, that is a metaphor for Zen, and the Zen master says, what is Zen? Well, Zen is a rat in a bamboo chute that can't go backward and it can't go forward and it can't stay where it is. Now, what are you going to do? That's the key. Now, what are you going to do? Well, This is the double bind. The double bind, defined by Kessler, I believe it was, and used by Albert Lowe in his book Creating Consciousness, which is where I became familiar with it, is the common experience where you keep repeating yourself because you don't know what to do. We do this all the time now. You lose your car keys. What do? You know they're in the house. You keep looking in the same place over and over. Keep looking under the same magazine. Well, maybe I didn't see it before. Or maybe it will magically appear where it wasn't before. So we keep going, wow, wow, wow. That's a double bind. No matter where you look, it's no good. Now, the classic story of the double bind is my mother. I've told this before. It's about the poodle keys. So she was 100 years old. She was still driving. And she lived to be 102, but I think she quit driving in the last year. Maybe the car still knew how to get to Walmart. I went over, she was just really in a state. I says, I lost my car keys and I've been looking for 5 days, and she would always say, I'm going to have a stroke if I can't find it. So next time I went over there, she was all happy. She said, well, how you do? She says, well, I said, why are you so happy? She said, well, I found the car keys. So what happened was I just gave it to God. I said, I quit. You find it. And immediately, she said, she found herself, watched herself, walk into the bedroom and put her hand and go in the closet and put her hand in the sweater, and there were the car keys. Now, normally we would say, well, God did it, or Jesus told me. But this was Zen. To me, this was Zen. In other words, there was a dimension to herself outside of consciousness. There was a mind outside of her little island of consciousness that was caught in the double bind. Can't do this, can't find it, can't get out, can't. It's a very little island. You can't get off this little island. If you surrender the problem, if you surrender the double bind, you just discover the car keys, the keys, you see. It's a discovery. So how do you get off the pirate planks of Zen? How does the rat get out of the bamboo chute? It's a discovery or the awakening of the creative mind or faith mind. See, faith mind is the mind that doesn't rest on anything. Now, what's anything? Anything is the known. And what's the known but what you've been doing? If you're repeating yourself again and again, you're resting your mind on what you know. Well, I looked under the magazine, so I'll look again. I don't know where else to look, so maybe the fifth time you look under the magazine for the keys, and still it doesn't appear. You reach the point where there's nothing else to look under. Then what do you do? Now what do? You see, that's the point. That's the pirate's plank of Zen. You see, that is the point of no return. It's Groundhog Day. See, Groundhog Day was a guy trapped in the known, in the day, and he kept trying to get out. And he couldn't discover the keys. He couldn't discover the keys to the car, because he kept doing the same thing over and over again. But what's the same thing over and over again is your consciousness. The same thing over and over again is the habit mind, is the patterns of your life, is the patterns of your consciousness. It's thinking. Doing something over and over again is thinking. Thinking just does itself over and over again in patterns. Thinking is a pattern. Thinking is Groundhog Day. So how do you find the poodle keys? Well, you just give up your dependence upon what you know. You give up your resting on form. on things, on thought, on feeling, on choices, on your very sense of self. The sense of self is what we ultimately rest our mind on, and it's a viewpoint. The sense of self has no substance. You can't find it. It's a viewpoint, continued by memory, by repetition. And when we come to these pirate plank moments, these moments of Zen, we're pressured, we're inexorably put into a situation where there's no way out. Now, what are you going to do? You don't know. So this is called, unknowing. It is not knowing that you know. So this is kind of like the flipping point where everything turns into its own opposite. The world turns, you see. The world, your mind flips from not knowing what to do to knowing what to do. But you can't force your way into that. You can't will it. You can't choose it. You see, because choice is locked up in the double bind. Whatever I choose is no good. That means choice is helpless. No good. And what is choice? Well, you are choice, the chooser. You write this down, people say, well, I would choose to do this. Well, I would choose to do that. No. In the pirate's plank, there is no choice. Now, what are you going to do? How are you going to find the poodle keys? Well, most people say, well, and it's just handy. If you say, well, I'll give it to God, well, that's fine. If that works, good. If that works, okay, But you didn't choose God, you see, because that's part of the double bind. You have to let go of God, too. You got to let go of Jesus. You got to let go of Zen. You got to let go of everything in order to get to the poodle keys. Thanks for dropping in.